Stereotype formation in under 3 minutes. Let's go. So these are going to be the keywords we're going to be defining. The study is Hamilton and Gifford. And as always, we're going to look at the last paragraph, which is where I think most of us get it wrong. If you get this question, explain one study of stereotyping, you could do both stereotype effect or stereotype formation, right? It's between those two. However, if you get this question that mentions stereotype threat, it's going to be applied only to stereotype effect. Okay, so this does not apply to stereotype formation. It's going to be very important that you memorize these keywords and not miss out on any of them, because that could cost you a lot of marks. So for example, in the definition of stereotyping, we mentioned social categorization. So guess what? We're just going to give it a brief definition, and same applies to heuristics here, mental shortcuts. All right. I really do think that Hamilton and Gifford is the easiest study in the whole IB psychology course. I mean, just read this and I think you would understand it straight away. Just have in mind they were given the same amount of negative and positive statements, yet in the results, Group B has been estimated to have more negative statements and less positive statements, when we know that it's objectively not true. This then also applies to the last paragraph. I'm not sure why that's not there. So this is the hardest paragraph, I would say. So we're looking at a point, evidence, and an explanation for the different conditions, or groups in this case. So there's group B and group A, okay? So we're going to try and mention all of the keywords while giving our explanations. So we're applying the keywords to the study. So for example, here our point is that Hamilton and Gifford demonstrate how stereotypes can form through social categorization. So basically, in other words, Hamilton and Gifford proves the theory of stereotype formation. Okay? Then we talk about the results as our evidence. So negative statements in group B stood out more than in group A. Okay? So we're talking about the results as our evidence and giving explanations. So this means people relied on heuristics to form an illusory correlation between group B and negative behaviors. So we do that while using all the keywords. Then we talk about group A and the other keywords. So this study supports the concept of prejudice or point. This could be represented with group A, where being the majority group associated with more positive behavior. So here again, talking about the results and then the explanation, meaning blah blah blah. Any questions you can go in the comments, and I recommend you go back through the video and write down any keywords you might not have or anything in the conclusion that you might not understand. All right, I also have some free flashcards in the description and some past papers, so you might want to check them out. Good luck.